This conference will now be recorded.
So in the previous session, we started a discussion about a remote web element class, right? So why we are going to discuss remote web element class team? Because whatever the action you want to perform on top of target element, so those are all the methods, those are all functions mentioned in remote web element class. So this remote web element class coming from where team? Are we creating this remote web element class? Are we creating this remote web element class? So this is class coming from Selenium API, nothing but Selenium library, right? See, so our find element methods, see, driver dot, if you say driver dot find element, our find element method returning web element. So what is this web element? Web element is an interface. So we are storing into web element interface reference. So on top of interface, if you call a method, any method that will execute in implementation class. What is the implementation class of web element team? Web element implementation class is remote web element. Remote web element implements web element, right? In web element interface we have a abstract methods. What are the abstract methods we have? First one is send keys method, and second one is public void click method. So what is the use of the click method team? What is the use of click method? It will click target element or identified element. Let's observe the use of this click method. Now, so we have documented here like, first of all, launching browser, entering URL. So enter username, right? So after entering username, let me try to click this next button, right? So first of all, here you have to enter, after launching browser, enter your mail ID, right? So let's say this is my @gmail.com. After entering this one, you have to click this one. Suppose if you want to click this one, first of all, you have to identify by using inspect option, right? So what are the properties it may have? It is having class text. Let me go with text. How to identify by using text team? So here control F // tag name. What is the tag name? It is span, and use text function. Text of equals to, within the single quotes, paste your text. Now it will identify your element. Now copy this one, supply here within the double quote. Now this is what I'm using now. I'm using XPath. That's why I'm calling XPath function from where team? By class, right? After that, I am clicking this. I'm storing into web element interface. I'm storing into reference. In reference, on top of reference, I'm calling click method. Now this is send keys method coming from where? Send keys method coming from remote web element class and or web element interface. And click method coming from where? Web element interface. That's why I'm calling on top of this web element reference. And if I execute this one, it will execute where? It will execute in implementation class. What is that implementation class team? Remote web element. Observe here. I am executing this program. First of all, launch browser, right? Enter the URL, enter the username, click on next button. Now it is navigating to next page. What is the next page team? It's a password page. Clear? And now again here I want to enter my password. If I want to enter a password, what I have to do here? Again I have to inspect. How to inspect team? Again right click, inspect, maximize this one, inspect again. So here you tell me what I can use here. This property, element property, what I can use here? Text box, sorry, password text field. What I can use here? Come on, Dream, quickly. What the property I can use here for this text box? If I want to enter password, Can I use ID here? Can I use ID here? No, right? Because for this element, I don't have ID. I'm having a class name. I can use class name, or else I can use this name, right? Let me try to identify by using this name. So plus Control F. Here uh, it is having name, password. Let me use this name, right? Directly, I can use it, right? So how to use? See this one. This is my
అక్కడ టైప్
password
అనేది అది
name.
యూజ్ చేయొచ్చా అండి?
We can use any attribute and any attribute value team. So
హ్మ్.
that is the use of XPath. Inside XPath, you can use any attribute value. If it is unique and you're good to go. So directly what the Selenium providing? Selenium providing directly to identify element, whether it may be ID, you can identify ID and class and name. Directly you can use these properties. Otherwise, you have to go for either XPath or CSS. Right? So let me go with name here. It is because it is having a name, password. Let me go with name, or else you can construct XPath using this name here. See, try to construct XPath here // tag name. What is the tag name here, team? Input and square braces start attribute. What is that attribute? Name here. And what is the attribute value within the single quotes? Give your value and close your XPath. If it is CSS, just remove this at the rate and remove this //. Clear, team? Now this time let me go with CSS. You can use anything, team. So how to use? Again, driver dot. Remember, team, I'm again and again repeating this driver dot find element method. So we should not do this one. We have to avoid this repeating code. So in coming forward, we'll have to use only one find element method that has to apply for each and every time. Okay, now use this time CSS selector. This is my CSS selector. So now my find element method returning after identifying this element on top of DOM, it will returning web element. So store it into web element, and this time give name as password text. Okay, now on top of password text, what we have to do, team? We have to enter the data. If I want to enter the data, what the method I want to do here? Again, so a web element dot send keys method. Here within the double quotes, we have to supply your password. As of now, let me give you a dummy password: 123456789. This is my password. Observe it. Run as Java application. Observe whether it is entering password or not. So first of all, it will launch browser, enter username, click on next button, and then try to identify the text box. Whether it got entered or not, in observe it is not entered my password here. Observe what is the issue here. In console, you will get here. See, you got error successfully. What is that? No such element exception. So no such element exception on where? Here in text class Java 22 line. Click here. It is saying that boss, there is no element using this CSS selector. Anyway, observe. I am passing a right CSS only, whether it may be CSS or XPath, anything. I am passing right one. But here, observe here after entering username, You're clicking this next button. Yes or no? After clicking this next button, observe team, it is taking fraction of seconds to load this second page or next page. Password page. Password page is taking a few seconds to load entire DOM structure. Meanwhile, my Selenium cannot wait until this password page is loaded. Selenium is compared to your application. Selenium is very fast. Compared to your application, Selenium is very fast to identify element. That's why here the one topic is came to the picture, that is a synchronization. Let's say, so this is your application. Your application you're testing on top of where? By using Selenium. So your application you're testing here. Now for that you have to communicate with your browser. You have to communicate with the browser. See here, if you want to communicate with my browser, here my application is somewhat slow here, but my Selenium is very fast to identify element and very fast to communicate with browser. Here you have to synchronize your Selenium API and your application. For that we have a concept called synchronization. So what is the synchronization team? So you have to maintain an equal rapport with your application using Selenium. How team? So here, see, observe. So whenever I click on this next button, whenever after entering my username, whenever I click on next button, it will take a few seconds. Now you have to give a command to your Selenium boss. So DOM page is taking time. You have to wait certain few seconds until the page is loaded. You have to wait after and try to identify this password field. For that, see, as of now, for that, so after clicking this next button, here I want to give or else I want to wait here a few seconds. How to wait team? So for waiting here in Java and Selenium, we have a two ways. The first one is static way. Static way in sense, suppose if you say 5 seconds, it will wait only 5 seconds. And one more is dynamic way. Dynamic way in sense, we'll discuss in what is the dynamic way, how to apply dynamic way. See, if you give 10 seconds here, what is the difference between dynamic and static way here team? See, if I say 5 seconds here and the Selenium will wait up to 5 seconds. This is static way. If I say dynamic wait, see, Selenium cannot wait up to the 10 seconds. So it will observe each and every time interval. Here you have to give a time interval. Let's say my time interval is 1 second. And if I give 1 second, each and every second Selenium will search your web element. If it is not loaded, and again wait for 1 more second. And it will not visible in second, and it will wait for 1 more second. Like this, it has to wait up to the 10 seconds. That is a dynamic waiting. So in Selenium, by using Java, we can apply two types of waits. One is a static way, another one is dynamic way. Right? So let me give you a static way. We'll discuss dynamic way later. Right team? So in Java, we have a class called thread. So this is coming from Java team, not Selenium. Thread.sleep. Nothing but I am keeping the sleep mode. My thread. This is we are calling as a thread in Java language. So this execution process we are calling a thread. So in Java we have a predefined classes thread. Inside a thread class we have a methods. So there are a number of methods, but we are using only one method. What is that method in sleep method? I am giving command boss sleep these milliseconds. So let's say if I want to wait 5 seconds here, let's give 5,000. Nothing but 5 seconds. So 1 second into 1000 milliseconds. So it is giving you some error team. So if you want to avoid this error, so move cursor here, add throws declaration. You have to take first option, add throws declaration. Okay, we'll discuss what is this throws declaration, why we are giving this one. Okay, as of now, so use this thread dot sleep, nothing but here I am giving a static way. So I'm giving a command, please wait 5 seconds here. After clicking this next button, wait 5 seconds. Okay, team. Now let's observe the execution. Now this time we won't face any no such element exception. Why? Because we are stopping execution 5 seconds after clicking this next button. Clear, team? Now this time password got entered. Why? Forcefully I am waiting my Selenium after clicking the next button 5 seconds. How I am giving this command? By using thread.zip. We should not use thread.zip, team. So always we have to use dynamic wait only. So unnecessarily we should not wait static wait. Suppose if the element got identified in first second, unnecessarily we are waiting remaining 4 seconds. Yes or no? In coming forward, we should not use this one. For understanding purpose, I am saying this static wait. Always you have to give a dynamic waits. Clear, team? And what are the WebDriver methods, team? Anyone remember what are the WebDriver methods? No problem. Whether it be wrong or not, at least 2 or 3 methods, no issues. Anyone? WebDriver interface methods. You have to remember them. This is a very important one, team. WebDriver interface or Selenium itself we are saying as Selenium WebDriver. You have to remember. You have to remember each and every method, and you have to remember each and every method use case. Already we have discussed long ago. Get method, quit method, close method, get title, get current URL, window handles, manage, navigate, page source, switch. Right? See here. So as of now, I'm documenting here. So here, observe team, after launching my browser, this is a minimize position. If I want to maximize here I want to use a command. I want to call a method. I have to call a method driver dot manage this method. On top of this method, I have to call a window method. Inside a window, I have to call a maximize. So this is for what? To maximize my window. Now, if I execute, first of all, it will launch browser, and after launching browser, it will maximize the window and then enter the URL. Now, observe in this time, observe. So it will launch browser, enter the URL, and before entering URL, we said maximize, right? So now this time it will maximize. After that, we enter the URL. And next, entering username, your next button, and entering a password. Okay. Now observe. So this is a way you have to maximize entering URL, right? Observe. Let me create here one more class here. Web element test. Right? See, copy this one. Launching browser, maximizing. First of all, take a main method inside this one. So add a code, launching browser, maximizing, entering URL. After that, here Observe team. If I want to enter username, I have to enter. Now, after entering my username here, so I have a use case that after entering username, I want to get this username. After entering username, I want to get this username. And suppose, see, this is having a Google, right? So if I may move cursor here, so it is having a tooltip. What is the tooltip team? See here, if I move cursor here, I'm getting one tooltip called Google. Observe here, inspect this Google icon. Now you will get text here like this. Somewhere you are having this text team, Google text, or else. So let's observe. Now this time let me go for a Mintra application. So better practice. Go for a Mintra application. So initially we'll discuss each and application team. Later we'll go to the one static application and we'll practice entire thing on top of one single application. Now observe after launching my Mintra application, if I want to click on this men, what I have to do team? What I have to do if I click on men? First of all, we have to inspect team. Inspect. So inspect this main option. How to inspect team? So whether it is not having ID, it is not having a name. So it is having only class. So observe, if I take class here, you will get number of duplicates. Right? So identify with this main option because obviously it may have a text. So how to identify team? We have only one option by using text, that is xpath / tag name text function within the single quote supply your text, and you're good to identify element by using text here within the single quote supply your text. Now again it is showing two duplicates, right? If you want to avoid duplicates, close this your xpath entire within the parentheses and give an index number. So I want first one. If you want to first one, give the first index number. Clear? Clear team? Observe. This time go for a Mintra application. See it here. See, if I launch this one, if I execute this one, observe, it will execute and launch browser, enter URL, Mintra application, right? See, sorry team, sorry. Here we have to supply Mintra application, get method. Mintra, right? URL, right? We have to supply URL here, right? See, after URL, how to identify element team? How to identify element? Driver dot find element. For my find element method, I have to supply by property. So what is the property I have to pass as of now? XPath. So what is the XPath theme? Here we have identified XPath, main option XPath. Of this XPath, supply over here, paste now, and observing. Run as Java application. Nothing new, just launching browser, entering URL, identifying first option. Just it will identify option. Yes or no? Clear? So what if I want to do a click operation here? What is the method I want to use team? Commanding. What the method I want to use for clicking first option?
Click method usage.
Exactly. So we have to use click method, right? So let me use click method. How to use click method, team? How to use click method? My find element returning web element reference. Web element is interface. We have to store web element reference here. Now main option. Let me give main option, or let me give a tab here. Main tab. So this is the object, right? Element. Okay. I'm getting error here. Okay. Input option. Okay. Main tab dot click. So what will happen if I execute this one? If you launch browser, maximize enter URL, identify element by using main and then click. Here, so how many lines I'm using team for clicking on option? How many lines I'm documenting here? 2 lines, right? 14 and 15. In 14 line it will identify element. In 15 line it will enter or click on main tab. See here, always remember you have to write a code such a way that always you have to optimize your code. Always you have to decrease number of lines of code. Here, instead of 2 lines, can I go a single line? Instead of 2 lines, can I go single line? Sitting. So instead of 2 lines, let me document this again, single line. Same driver.find element. Now, what my find element method returning thing? My find element method returning web element. Earlier I'm storing it one. After storing, I'm calling a click method on top of web element. Right. See here, my find element returning a web element. If it is returning web element, I can call the methods of web element directly dot here. See team, this is 2 lines of code. This is a 1 line of code. Now I reduced 1 line code here. Earlier, my find element method returning web element. After finding this element, now I'm storing into web element. After storing, again I'm storing into one more object. On top of object reference, I'm calling a click method. Now this is 2 lines. Now observe 17 line. My find element method calling on top of driver object, driver.find element, supplying by property. After finding this element, my find element returning web element. So now this time I don't want to store the web element reference object. Now directly I am calling a method. What is that method? Click method. So my find element method returning web element. Directly I can use web element methods by entering a dot. Dot nothing but call the click method on find element returning object reference. What the find element returning? My find element method returning web element interface reference. If I call now click method, it will execute from where thing. First of all, it will go to the web element interface. After that, it will check the implementation of this web element interface. What is the implementation of web element interface team? Implementation class of web element is remote web element. Remote web element class implements, sorry, your document right here. See, remote web element class implements web element. Now it's come to this class and execute this click method inside a remote web element class. Observe team. Let me comment on this one. Now execute. No difference team. If you store your reference or not storing your reference, directly calling method, there is no any difference. The main thing what we are doing here, we are reducing number of lines of code. Launching browser, entering URL, maximizing, and click on main option. Now it is navigating to main option. Observe. Now URL got changed. Right team? Now if I want to verify the URL, what the method I want to use, team? Now, if I want, now this time, after clicking this method, I want to get this URL. What the method I have to use here? What the method I have to use, team? Here, I have to verify whether it is navigate to next page or main page or not. This URL. Let me copy this URL. This URL. How to verify, team? I want to verify whether it is navigate to this option. Now my URL contain this main option or not. How to verify? Please let me know at least a method. Anyone? Already we discussed, team. See, there is a method called get current URL in where WebDriver interface. What it return? Return current URL. Now call after the click method. Now call here driver dot get current URL. What will return, team? It will return string. String. You have to store it into string. String what? URL. Now current URL. I can say current URL. Now for understanding purpose, for visible, give it into under system.out.println. Navigated to. Now concatenate, use this one. Observing. Launch browser, maximize, enter URL, and identify that main option using XPath. Click on this main option, navigate into this URL. Observe here URL. Clear, team? That is the use of current URL, get current URL method. Clear? And now let me discuss web element interface methods. Web element interface methods. See here in web element, what are the methods we have, team? What are the methods we have? First one is send keys method. Already we know. Enter the data. This will use enter to enter the data, right? So where this send keys method implemented? Send keys method implemented in implementation class remote web element implements web element send keys method. What the send key method will do? Enter the data in target element. Or the target, whatever the element you have identified, that's the target. Okay, now let's discuss. See, this is the first one, send keys method, and this is the second one, click method, and this is, let me give a third one, public void clear method. What is the use of clear method? The method itself, what is it saying, team? It will clear the data. What the data it will clear? Whenever you want to clear a data, existing a data. Now observing. So earlier we have entered. So in Gmail application. So in Gmail application, go to Gmail application. Always remember, it's always the execution and writing code depends upon your real-time use case. See here. So if I want to sign in here, first of all, here I want to enter the username. Before entering username, there is an existing user given a mail ID called like Michael @gmail.com. Already there is an existing code here. Now I want to give my mail ID. If I give my mail ID here, if I use send keys method, it may enter like this: Murali @gmail.com. before entering my mail ID, what I have to do here? I have to perform action called clear. First of all, I have to clear existing. First of all, I have to clear existing data. Here I have to clear existing data and then enter my username. In that use case, use a method called clear. Clearing for demo purpose, let me use it here. Use it here for demo purpose. See earlier, first of all, I'm entering username. Let's consider this is the first username. Let me give. So let me give Michael. First, I'm only giving Michael. Okay, first of all, it will be given Michael, and after that, so text box dot clear. After clearing, so let me give a 5 seconds here to visible, and again enter my username here. Same thing, no confusion. Enter find element text box. So enter. Wantedly I am entering this mail ID. So after entering this one, clear this one. After clearing, just wait 5 seconds for a visible purpose and then enter my username and click on next button and further process. Now observe. Run as Java. Launching browser, entering URL, maximizing Michael cleared, and now 5 seconds, enter my user. Click next button, enter password. Clear thing. And what the next option, next operation we have to perform, and again click on this next button, again identify and click. That's it. Okay, if you are providing a right username and password, it will move it to your inbox. Clear team. That is the use of clear method. And next, suppose if the element having any text, so let's consider here I'm entering data, right? Observe team, observe here. So here sometimes the element may having some text here. So if I want to enter, I'll show you this one also. I'll show you this one. See here. So this is an element, right? This is element having a price. What is the price? 349. If I want to get this 349, observe here, inspect this element, observe this is the entire this one. See this one. If I want to get this 349, you have to use a method called, after identifying this one, you have to use a method called get text. Public return type is string. It will return in the form of string. And what is the method name? Team get text. So what get text will return? It will return element text. What are the element having containing the text? It will return in the form of what in string. Yes or no? See here. So if you want to get any text here, now if you want to get this 479, first of all, inspect this 479, right? So already we know how the 479 will present within the double quotes. It is present. So if you call this, if you are first of all, if you identify this element using class name and use a method called get text. How team? First of all, identify, use a method. So what is the method on top of web element? Now this time, let's consider here same object dot get text. Same method. Okay, same way, same way. That is the how. That is the use of get text method team. And sometimes observing here, I am entering username. Let me go this one. Gmail, see, I am entering username here, murli@gmail.com. Observing, after entering my mail ID here, so if you want to know whether I have given a good or valid mail ID, so before clicking next button, I want to verify whether my data entered correctly or not. For that, here observing whatever I am entering the data here, observe whatever I am entering data here. So in this element, there is one attribute, it will hold the data whatever I am giving here. Observe here team. This is the element. This is the element having here. So whatever the data I am here entering here, it will hold the dead data. What is that hold? There is a attribute called value related to this element. The value attribute hold the data whatever I am entering here. Clear team? Able to observe here? Able to observe here? @gmail.com. Whatever the data you are entered here, that will hold by that particular value attribute. Now observe, see here, after entering the data, here, after entering data, I want to verify whether I have entered correct mail ID or not. Whether the entering data, after entering data, whether it is having a correct text or not, correct user ID or not. How team? So on top of variable main, after entering, just call your method called get attribute. There is a method called get attribute. For get attribute method, what you have to supply team? You have to supply what the attribute value you want to get it here. See here. Sorry. See here, I am entering data. So this data hold by one attribute. What is that attribute team? Value. See here, it will hold what that attribute. We are the discussing method called public string method called get attribute. What it will return team? It will return attribute value. Attribute value in the form of string. Example. So one of the attribute is value. So it will hold the data. In the double quotes will hold the data. So if you want to get this data, call the method. What is the method? Get attribute. For get attribute, you have to supply your attribute value. What attribute value you have to supply here? You have to supply, see, whatever the attribute you want to supply, you want to get the value, supply that attribute. For example, now this time I want to get this value attribute holding value. Suppose if you want to get this email, supply type. If you want to this class value, supply class. Any attribute, supply any attribute, it will return attribute value. That's why the name itself get attribute. If you supply attribute, it will return attribute value. Here, what is the string team here? It will return attribute value. Nothing but I can say attribute value. Best example here is, I'll give you value holding what here team? It will hold my mail ID. Now what I want to verify here, I want to verify whether I have entered correct mail ID or not. For that I am calling what? Get attribute method. For get attribute method, what I have to supply here? I have to supply value here. Creating. Now observe. So after entering data, I'm calling get attribute method. For my get attribute method, I have to supply attribute here. What is the attribute? It is holding my mail ID. My mail ID hold it by the value attribute. Supply here value within the double quote. Supply value. Now my get attribute method returning attribute value in the form of string. Now it is returning string. I can store it into string. So let me store it into variable name or for understanding purpose, give me in system.out.println double quotes entered mail ID. Give it this one. Creating for understanding purpose. Let me give here just 2 seconds. Nothing but 2000 milliseconds, 2 seconds. Now executing. Launch browser. Maximize the window. Enter URL. Enter username. Clearing. Again entering. Right. And now it will verify whether I have entered correct mail ID or not. Observe team, observe the output. See here. How I am getting this one? By using this get attribute. For get attribute, what the parameter you have to pass? Attribute name you have to pass. If you pass attribute name, it will return holded attribute value. You have to pass this value. If you pass this one, it will return this one. It will return this one. Clear team? That is the use of get attribute. And now, so we have a method called one more public return type is string get tag name. So method name is tag name. If you supply element, if you supply element a tag name, it will element, it will return a particular tag name here. We don't use much this one tag name, so mostly we'll use send case method, click method, clear method, get text method, get attribute method. Along these methods, we have a few more methods in a web element class implemented in remote web element interface. So seventh one is public return type is boolean is displayed. Suppose after identifying element, whether you want to know whether this element, let's suppose example is text box, whether this text box is displaying in a web page. If you want to know, so you have to call a method called what in is displayed. What is the return type of is displayed? It will return boolean. If the element is displayed, it will return true, or else it will return false. Creating. And now next one more thing, public return type is again a boolean is enabled. What is the use of is enabled team? Suppose so some of the elements are in hidden position. Let's observe an example. See here, there will be examples like this. See, there will be example like this: login page, enter username, enter password, and here there will be a checkbox called accept terms and conditions. Accept terms and conditions. So if you click this one, if you click this one, if you click this one, then only you will good to click this submit option. There will be an option called submit. If you accept terms and conditions, then only you will able to access this submit option. Then only you can able to click the submit button. So how they implemented team? See, until unless if you don't accept this terms and condition, if you don't click this checkbox, up to before this clicking terms and condition, this submit button is in a disabled position. So you can give an option by the time of front-end implementation. You can give an option related with if you click this checkbox, then enable. If you not click this checkbox, then disable. And that option you can know by using this is enabled method. Is enabled method return type is boolean team. If it is enabled, return what? It will enable, it will return false, or else it will return, sorry, it will true, or else it will return false. When it will return true team, so in this example, if you click this check button, it will enable. If you call after this clicking method, if you call on top of submit method enabled method, on top of submit element enabled method, this enabled method return boolean value what? True. If you not click this one checkbox, it will return boolean value what? It will return boolean value false. Clear team? Clear team? And one more thing, one more method here. You have a public same return type boolean is displayed, is enabled, is selected. There is a method called is selected. Now observe. So observe again. Observe this example. See here. See, before clicking sometimes, so if you load this page, if you load the page, sometimes this action terms and condition is in a position of in a selected condition. So always if you navigate this page, always there will be in a selected position. Yes or no? Sometimes it will come up with a default selected condition. Now that time, if you want to verify whether first of all, whether the selected position is selected or not. So observe, it is a selected position. If it is a selected position, don't click again. If you click again, and it will deselect it. So that time, if you want to check whether that particular text box is selected or not, so that time you have to verify. You have to call a method called is selected on top of where? On top of this particular element. If you call this element, it will return. If the element is selected, it will return what team? It will return true, or else it will return false. Before clicking this one, you have to verify whether this element is selected or not. If it is already selected, don't click again or don't select again. If it is not selected, select again. We will write such a dynamic code by using these three methods team. Is displayed, is enabled, is selected. Here team, along with the method, we have a few more methods called, if you want to know element location on a web page, there is a method called get location. We don't use much these methods, get location and get rect, get rect, get location, get rect, and size. We can know the size of element. Get size. These methods thing we are not using these methods, so mainly we will use these methods only. Send key method, click method, clear method, get text, get attribute, and is displayed, is enabled, is selected. Creating get location return type is point return type. This is one type of class, and get rect is return type is rectangle, and the size is dimension. Creating. So this is a method we have to remember from a web element interface. So these are all the methods implementation where team. All the methods implementation present on where. Where the people implement, where the people given implementation for these methods. Remote web element team. We have been discussing implementation class of web element is remote web element. You have to remember this is interface, right? Abstract methods. Obviously, there will be a one implementation class for these methods. What is the implementation class? Remote web element. What is the find element method doing, team? Find element method. What the find element method doing? Find element method. First of all, it will identify element by using by property. After that, it will create object of what? Remote web element. So after creating it, returning in the form of web element. So it is creating object by using pairing interface reference and returning web element. That's why my find element returning type is web element. Anyway, the object is remote web element, but the return type is web element.